Namaste everyone. Thanks for joining Hindi University. Welcome back to Jennifer as well. She was not here for the last few weeks now,
Last
right?
3 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Namaste.
So last week we went over like a session where we sort of covered like a format for writing short Hindi poems. Uh, if you didn't get a chance to watch the video, I encourage you to watch it again. In this session also, we'll be covering two different like a framework of writing short poems. Those are not academic frameworks. I just thought of like how I would write short Hindi poems, which will sort of like which is easy, simple, and then something that you can do with the current understanding of Hindi language. And in my opinion, like poem is like one of the expression like, or way where you can sort of like master any language. And once you start writing short poem, those will give you like a lot of confidence, right? Not just in Hindi but in other languages as well, right? So with that in mind, let's just get started.
Let's do it.
So we'll start with like a framework one. And I'll explain you this framework as we go along. But in general, when you write like Hindi sentences, those are like SOV, right? When you have a subject, you have object, and you have verb, right? An example would be मैं apple खाता हूँ, right? मैं is your subject here, apple is your object, right? Khata is like a verb is khana, and khana is to eat. When you're writing in present indefinite, it's khata for a male, for khati for a female, and whom is like to be form of the verb, am, right? So S, O, and then this is the verb. But when you're writing a poem, right, I mean, you want to make it a little bit rhythmic, you want to make it a little bit more like, what do you call it, like something that, rhymes, and then something that is like, you don't have to write it in long sentences, right? So, what we have done in this particular framework, the way you write it is like, you write your verb first, right? After your verb, you write your to be form of the verb, which is like, whom, right? And then you write your subject. So even though Hindi is an SOV language, you will see that in this framework we write verb first and we write subject later on, right? And I'll give you an example so that way it makes more sense. So simple sentence when you write in present indefinite, like one of the simple sentences, मैं चलता हूँ. We don't have any object here, but think of it as like मैं is your subject here, and chalna is a verb, right? But what you're writing is like a verb here, right? And what you're saying is like I walk, right? If you want to write like walking me, I mean, I'm not sure if it makes sense grammatically, but like you want to write something where you are doing some action in present, right? Think of it this way, right? It may not make sense in English if you just simply say walk and I or walking me, but like what you're writing in poem is like chalta हूँ मैं. So you change the order, chalta हूँ मैं, in this particular framework. So right now, standard when you write it, the format is sequence is 1, 2, and 3. But in poem, what you're writing is like you write 2 first, write 3 after that, and then you're writing 1. And I'll make it rhythmic, so when you see it in its entirety, it will make sense to you, right? Make sense so far?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, let's see the problem statement, and I'm gonna write it as we are talking about it, as we are discussing about it, right? Let's say you want to write a poem for, let's say, nature. When you think about nature, what kind of things come to your mind?
Trees,
Tree, okay.
sun,
Sun,
mountains,
mountains. What else?
beach,
Beach, river,
river,
river. What else? Air or wind,
air.
right? So far, so good, right? I mean, these are kind of things that comes to your mind. Let's say we want to take some of these, objects, right? Or some kind of these subjects in your, in your poem, right? So let's say like a river is flowing, right? Um, you need two things. You definitely need subject when you're writing, when you're using this framework, and you definitely need verb, right? So let's say a river is flowing. You need to find out what the verb for flowing is, to flow, right? Same thing is like the wind is blowing. You need to find out like a verb for to blow, right? Sometimes you can use, because it's a poem, you can write the same verb for all of them. It will mean different in each context. For example, for a river, it may be like it is flowing. For air, it may be it's like blowing, right? But when you're still using the same verb, it basically it is quite possible that you can use the same verb for each of these subjects, right? So it may not be the one-to-one translation to English, but let's try, or let's give it a try for the first one, right? Let's say you want to use the word called chalna, right? You want to use same word for all the subjects, nature-related subjects, right? That gives some of the subjects we just spoke about, right? Mountains, river, wind. And you want to use chalna, even though it means to walk. You want to use chalna for those subjects. Let's pick nadi or a river, right? It may not make sense when you say river walks, but if when you're writing a poem, you can still write a sentence. How will you say that?
So, chalta hai nadi.
So nadi is a feminine, so
Chalti hai.
nadi, chalti,
Nadi chalti hai.
nadi chalti hai. But in poem, how will you say that?
So, chalti hai nadi.
Chalti hai nadi. Very good. So that's one line. Let's think of this way, that this would be one of my line for my poem, right? Chalti hai nadi. We'll go one by one. Okay, so let's just focus on one line and then go to the next one. Okay, and I'm going to ask you guys to also work on it. The next one, let's say we talk about air or wind. You know what air or wind is called in Hindi?
Hava.
Hawa. Okay, so that's correct. It's called Hawa. But in a poetic sense, it's called Pavan. Pavan. Pa, va, na. Pavan. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you. You already know this format, right? When you're writing it in a regular way, it will be Nadi Chalti Hai. You write the same thing for air or wind, and write it how you will write it in this particular framework, where you're writing the verb first and to be form of the verb, and then the subject. So I'm going to give a quick pause here, and then I'm going to ask you to write the same sentence for wind or air. Try it. It's quite easy. Okay, I'll help out.
And Jan said, Pavan chalti hai.
Okay, very good. So, so when you're writing it regularly, you'll say Pawan chalti hai. But remember, in our framework of writing poem, we are writing verb first, and then to be form of the verb, and then the subject. So Pawan chalti is absolutely correct, right? Pawan chalti hai. It's feminine also. But when you're writing it in the poetic sentence, poetic way, in this frame, using this framework, you'll say chalti hai Pawan. Okay, Chalti hai Pawan. That's one of our line of our poem, and we'll write these 4 lines together once we are done with it. Right. So good so far.
Very good.
Okay. Now, oftentimes, like when you're writing poem, you will be using some Urdu words as well, right? I mean, a poem is sort of like it will Urdu will be the soul of a poem, right? I mean, so oftentimes in the poems you see a word called traveler.
Traveler.
Traveler, right? I mean, and you know what is the Urdu word for traveler?
I don't.
Okay, it's musafir. Musafir, right? So the word for traveler is musafir. हिंदी में और उर्दू में traveler को मुसाफिर कहते हैं, right? Now let's say you want to write the same thing for traveler. How will you say that? And it's masculine. Yeah.
So, chalta hai, musafir.
This easier. The direct sentence would be musafir.
Oh, the direct sentence is musafir chalta hai.
Musafir chalta hai. And then the poetic way would be
Chalta hai, musafir.
chalta hai. Musafir. So that's the third line of our poem, right? So we have so far learned 2 lines, right? I mean, we've gone through Chalti hai nadi, Chalti hai pavan, Chalta hai musafir, and then the last line in this case would be a concluding line, right? Would be, let's say you want to write like we walk, and you're talking about the last one is we, which is hum. And you write it as
So the direct way would be hum chalte hai.
hum chalte hain, and then indirect would be
Chalte hai hum.
very good. So this will be your 4th line of your poem. And I'm going to write them all together so that way it will make sense. Any questions so far? Okay. So let me write all of them together. Line 1, line 2, line 3, and line 4. So that way it will make more sense. Oh, it's zooming out.
Yeah, because of this.
No.
Oh, there we go. That one. Oh,
yeah,
perfect.
nothing to do with it.
Okay, good.
So line 1, we'll write all of them together. Okay. The first one is Chalti hai nadi, चलती है पवन, चलता है मुसाफिर, and the 4th one is चलते हैं हम. In my opinion, this is a very short poem. I literally wrote it just for the class, for our class, and it's a very simple poem. But you know, if you read it, it's very simple, easy to read, pleasing, and it has a rhythm also, right? let's say, I mean, I'm asking you, Jennifer, like, if you didn't know about anything about, like, the format and all, like, if you were to break it down, what would be your thought process here? Will you be able to make sense of this poem? What's happening here? Or you will have questions?
No, I think it would make sense,
It would make
right?
sense?
Yeah.
What does it imply to you when you're saying it in the poetic
In a
way?
poetic sense.
Yeah,
In English,
in English, yeah.
that everything is flowing and traveling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is right. But
It's very deep.
yeah, that's the overall message, right? But
Uh-huh.
what about like the line by line?
Line by line.
Hmm.
So like the first one, Chalti Hai Nadi.
Hmm.
How would I break it down? I would say Chalti Hai, so flows,
Hmm.
and then Nadi river.
River flows.
River flows.
Hmm. Air flows.
Air flows. Traveler flows, but
Yeah, but using the same verb.
same
Right?
verb, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then so basically nothing, everything is like nothing is sort of like stationary,
Correct.
right? Everything is like moving,
Mhm.
right? So basically, in a poetic way, it shows the nature of life,
Mhm.
right? Now, more philosophical. Now, you want to change this poem,
Mhm.
right, to something else, right?
Mhm.
You want to be more melodious, like everything has a sound, let's say,
Uh-huh.
right? Everything is a song.
Mhm.
How will you do that? So you already have a format of the poem, right? This is a beautiful poem, right? Now you want to change it, and you want to change it with, like I say, you think that as a writer, everything has a sound.
Everything has a sound.
How will you change it now?
Uh, well, I guess you could replace Shalna
Hmm.
with the verb for to hear, maybe. I hear,
To that's also one of the
okay.
ways,
What
but
were
you
you?
want to
Yes.
sing is
To sing,
yeah,
not Ghana.
very good. Okay. So that's one way of like so that was the our like with the framework we came up with poem one, right? And now this is more philosophical. You want to change it to something more melodious, or everything in a sound,
Mm-hmm.
right? That will be our poem two, and I'm going to give you task right now.
Mm-hmm.
To what you want to do is you should be changing the verb chalna with Ghana. Ghana is a noun as well as your verb. Ghana is to sing as well, right? And you are saying that all these subjects they make beautiful sound or they sing, right? So take some time right now, about like 30 seconds, and rewrite these four sentence like short sentences of poem using the word called Ghana. Very good. Try it. There's no negative marks here, and it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is replace the verb with another word.
So Jan says, Ghana sunta हूँ मैं.
Okay, very good. Gana sunta hoon main. But what we are saying, Yon, is like in this case, this is the base poem. You have to replace verb in the same. I mean, you can write a new poem for sure. There's no like restriction on that. But in this case, the ask is that you change verb here You want to try, Jennifer?
Sure, I
Yeah.
can do the first one.
Yeah.
So Gani hai nadi?
Uh,
No.
yeah. What would be?
Gani?
No. Um, in a simplest, when you want to say I sing,
Uh-huh.
that would be.
मैं गाती हूँ.
No.
Right.
मैं गाती हूँ, right?
Yeah. गाती है नदी?
That's right. So you will say गाती है नदी, right? So the first one is already done for you. The second one would be anyone?
You sound like the teacher in Ferris Bueller. गाती है पवन?
Yeah, very good. गाती है पवन.
All right, that's what Jan said.
And the third one would be
गाता है मुसाफिर?
very good. गाता है मुसाफिर, and then
गाते हैं हम.
very good. गाते हैं.
Ashu Ji, how do you spell musafir?
Okay.
Is that too complicated?
No.
Okay.
It's ma with u, sa with a. Then you have a fa, e, musafir.
Okay, thank you.
So that's another poem that you just wrote. It's a little different though, right? I mean, what kind of, is it still philosophical in your mind or a little bit different?
I think it's a little less philosophical.
Less philosophical, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now and the same thing, if you want to, like, if you want to, again, the format here is like, once you have the template, all you have to do is like you're changing the word, right? Let's change it to like, the third one, which is the verb you were originally thinking, that, that things are quiet, right? Basically, and all these subjects are just hearing or listening, right? To hear or to listen, it's in Hindi is
Sunna?
sunna. So you have a sa with u, na and na, sunna. Too bad. All the verbs that I've selected, all of them will make it a philosophical quote, but it's okay. So even when you're using or writing the poem, the same format using sunana, it will still be like, a valid, like a good poem, and it will be like Sunti hai nadi. So I'm just going to write a here, Sunati hai nadi. सुनती है पवन, सुनता है मुसाफिर, and the last one would be सुनते हैं हम. Right? Now, I in the next one, I'm not gonna give you the verb. I want you to, each of you, to think of your own verb, and then rewrite these four sentences. It could be a bit difficult, but think about it. That will at least check your understanding on the verb, like whether you can pick a good verb or not, given the scenario. So right now we're just thinking about one verb. In the next, like, framework, I'll tell you to write different verbs for each of these, which is also a good way to write a short poem. Do we have anything?
Jan suggested karna.
Karna. But karna is to do, right? I mean, in this case, you know, if you write, karti hai nadi, it's sort of not complete, right? So you want to have a word which will give it a meaning, right? You can use something along with karna.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. सपना देखना. Okay. So basically, sapna dekhna will fit here, which for musafir and for us, but for river and for wind. So in the next one, in the next framework that I have, where you can use different verbs for each of these sentences, it would make sense because you can say sochta hai musafir, which is like think to think, which is something similar to what you're saying. It will fit here and here. Were you able to think of some?
I said nachna.
Nachna. Right. So nachna is
To dance.
to dance. Okay. Let's see if that fits.
I don't know if that's very philosophical though.
No. I think it's a little bit joyous. I think so.
It's joyous, right?
Yeah. So nachna is to dance, right? And it will fit here because the river is not really, when you say river is dancing, it doesn't mean that the river is literally dancing. It means that it's like, the water is like maybe, so it would be nachti. नाचती है नदी and नाचती है पवन. When you say नाचती है पवन, it could really mean that when sometimes when you see that the wind is blowing in different directions and it makes different kind of like shapes with the sand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though the sand is making the shape, but it still says that as if like the river is that sorry the wind is dancing. And then नाचता है मुसाफिर. And the fourth one is नाचते हैं हम.
And Christine had a suggestion, which was, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, parivart, to change.
परिवर्तन.
Parivartan, to change.
Yeah.
As a verb.
So परिवर्तन, बदलना is a verb, right?
Which means to change.
To change. बदलना is a verb. Parivartan, I think it would be either a noun or an adjective, depending upon how you're using it, right? But you can definitely use badalna, which is like the river has changed, the air is new, or wind is changed, right? New, there's a so that's also philosophical. But what you're saying is like everything is new, basically, right? Or everything has a new energy, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so far we were using a verb, right? We can use an adjective also, right? So I'm gonna give like a 30-second, and I'm gonna ask you to write an adjective. This is a little bit more dull, compared to the other topics, but the adjective here is like, let's say, what is thirsty? Thirsty in Hindi is?
Yes.
Pyas, right? Pyas. And so basically thirst is pyas, right? And thirsty for a male is pyasa, and for a female is
Pyasi.
pyasi. So now replace the verb with adjective and rewrite these 4 sentences and think about what it would mean basically. That you're visiting a town, like a town which is like a desert. right? Or a place where it didn't like really rain for many years, right? And I'm not going to give too many hints, but we write these four sentences using this adjective, and then we'll discuss it. Do we have any answers so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Jan just answered.
Okay, so let's see what we have here.
So Jan said, Pyas ki hai nadi.
So it's adjective, right? So you will write pyasi hai nadi. And then second one would be the same, pyasi hai pawan. And third is
Pyasa hai musafir.
pyasa hai musafir. And then
Pyase hai hum.
pyase hai hum. Very good.
And Christine actually gave the example of Shanti hai nadi.
Shant hai nadi. Okay.
Shant hai nadi?
Yeah. So shant is also, I think it's a very good that you mentioned that. When you say shant, when you want to say quiet, you're saying shant. So it's sh, a, dot, and shant. And let's just jump on it right after I finish these four. So what does it mean? Like, when you write these four sentences, प्यासी है नदी, प्यासी है पवन, प्यासा है मुसाफिर, प्यासे हैं हम. It's a little sad poem, but do you make sense? Do you get a sense of it? What are you describing in these four lines?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's been no rain.
Okay.
The river's dried up.
Uh-huh.
And there's no air.
Okay. No. So when you say pyasi hai,
the
air has no moist or
moisture.
There's no water in the
There's no water in the air.
Yeah, air as well.
So it's very dry.
Yeah.
And the traveler's thirsty. I get that. We're thirsty.
We are thirsty too, right?
Yeah.
The idea here is to teach the concept. It's a very sad poem again, but the point is not to next one basically, which we have. Again, this is like it will be like what you're saying is like in this case some of the adjectives don't change form, right? Some of the adjectives even for masculine and feminine they remain the same. So what you're saying is like shant hai nadi, shant hai pavan. I guess I should write two A's too. शांत है पवन, शांत है मुसाफिर, and then शांत है हम. शांत or चुप, both of them will be correct here. Chup. Right. Now, again, I'll ask you the same question. When you read this thing, what kind of emotions it evokes in you?
Peacefulness.
Okay, peacefulness, that is correct. Or something really like something happened to the village or a town. That everybody is very quiet, like they are in awe or in shock.
Right.
Right? That also is a scenario where everybody is like, nobody is speaking something.
That's the dark scenario.
Exactly, actually. So it could be both ways. Like one is like where everybody is like, really in a peace, and
Yes.
everybody is like, like you said, like, let's change the the rhythm of the class and make it a little bit more like fun, right? So the last one in this particular framework I have is using another adjective called khush, right? And then I'll change I'll use other framework after that. And khush is basically happy, right? You have k with u and then sh. So I'll keep it fast. I'm just gonna ask you, Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
if you were to write it using this particular adjective.
Yes. Kushi hai nadi?
No. Khush is again like,
Oh, it's like shant, it doesn't
yeah,
change.
yeah.
So kush hai nadi?
Khush hai nadi,
Kush hai pawan?
khush hai pawan,
Kush hai musafir?
okay, khush hai musafir,
It doesn't change for hum either. So
yeah,
kush hai hum.
khush hai. Very good. Um, khush hai hum. Like, there are say ways when you write it like hame khushi hai. Like that's a different sentence than writing it in this way. So it changes, but not in this particular case.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So I hope you're finding it useful. This is just like a way of writing a short poem, right? I mean, and again, like when you read it, it will give you a sense that it'll give you a sense that everyone is happy, including the nature, right? So let's change the format and the framework. And the next framework I have is a little different. So far, we're using the same word and the same adjective. What if we were to use like a different like verbs, right? So in this particular framework, what you do is like you write a verb, and then you after that following a subject, and each time you write a different word, and then you write a subject after that, right? Um, so to give you an example, right? Um, so far we were using the same word, right? Let's say like you want to write like a one line for nature, another line for like so one line for water, let's say, right? Another line for let's say sun, right? And you want to write the third line for bird, and the concluding line for fourth one, right? Um, so let's say you want to write like water flowing or water flows, sunsets, bird uh, basically fly, and then your concluding line like rewatch or something like that. All of them, if you look at it, like all of them are different words: to flow, to set, to fly, and to watch, right? Or to walk, anything, basically the concluding line, right? So, what is to to flow in Hindi?
So we were using chalna.
No. So chalna is to walk, right? But now let's say you want to use
Oh,
a different.
specifically for
Yeah.
flow?
So yeah, to flow.
हिंदी में flow को क्या कहते हैं?
Okay. So it's behna, behna, b, b, and then na, behna. Do you have a comment?
Yes, Christine says पानी में बहना.
Pani mein behna, okay, that's right. But in this case, let's say so far in the earlier format you were writing hai as well, right? In this case, you strictly write a verb and subject. That's it. There's no hai in between, right? So you will write first verb that would be
Betty.
Behta,
Oh, Beta.
and then
Nadi.
no
You
water.
want to do water?
Yeah,
Pani.
yeah. Behta pani. Behta pani. Okay. Now, so this is a little difficult, right? I mean, it requires more like thinking, but again, we'll come up with the four short, like small phrases. Right? What about sunsets? To set is sun is setting. Right? So
Yeah.
to set is dhalna. Right? So you write it. You have a dha, la, and na. Actually, I'll correct it. It's not this dha. It's dhalta. Right? Dhalna. And sun is
Suraj.
Suraj. Very good. So it would be
So it would be Dalta Suraj.
very good. Dhalta Suraj. So the first line is Behta Pani. Second one is Dhalta Suraj. And then to fly is
Purna.
Udna. To fly is Udna. And bird is
Chiria.
Chidiya. And another one would be
Another bird.
Panchi. Panchi is a generic word.
Uh-huh.
Panchi. Right. And
Panchi.
if you want to write like, plural, basically.
Of Panchi?
Hmm.
Panchia? I don't
No,
know.
basically it's for the word, right? I mean, so Panchi, plural is
Oh.
also Panchi, basically.
Oh, so Urte?
Udte, very good. Udte, Panchi, right? So Udte, Panchi. Again, like if you were to write it a simple sentence, you will just say Panchi udte hain or Panchi udta hai. A bird fly or birds fly. But again, because of the format or the framework we're using, we're writing verbs first. So these are all your verbs and these are all your subjects. And the last one is you want to say
We watch?
we watch or we walk, either of them. Or to watch is
Dekhna?
dekhna, and then it would be
Uh, so Dekhte?
dekhte.
Hum?
Very good, dekhte hum. So you have another poem with this particular framework where you are writing four simple lines. बहता पानी ढलता सूरज उड़ते पंछी देखते हम. Again, this is like a you are describing a scenic place where like the sun is setting, water is flowing, the birds are flying home, and then you are basically observing this, right? That's your concluding line. It's very simple if you think about it. It's not that difficult with the Hindi we have learned so far. It didn't require that much of new sort of grammar or anything like that, right? It was as straightforward as possible. Only thing you need to know was picking a right subject that you have to do anyways as like a learner, and the second thing was like identifying like the right word, right? So that was also like straightforward. With the formula you can ask them anyone. Any questions? No.
I
Okay.
think we're
Okay.
good.
So let's say we want to make it even simpler with the same framework, the second framework that we've learned. We want to write a new poem, and let's say it's a school scenario. That you imagine yourself in a school, like your elementary school, let's say, right? What kind of, um, what kind of like, and you are a student, like and you're going to a school. What kind of things that comes to your mind? What kind of subjects you will think of? Teacher is one of the subject, right?
Books.
Books, okay.
Pencils.
Pencil, okay. So these kind of things you can pick any verb, any sort of subject possible, right? What about verbs? What kind of things, what kind of verb that comes to your mind when you think about a school scenario? Teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Studying, right?
Writing.
Writing, anything basically, right? I mean, that it's fitting into the scenario. So I'm not sure if this still happens in the school anymore, but especially growing up, there used to be like a bell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Between periods.
in between period. Does it still happen? No,
I think so.
I think so. Okay. So the one I picked up in this particular, like for this class was like the first line that I have is like your bell in Hindi is, you know that?
I don't.
Okay, it's ganti. Okay, and when you sort of like what is the verb here? Ring, to ring.
Vagina.
Bajana, very good. Bajana, to ring, right? But if somebody else is doing it, then it's basically if you are ringing it like मैं बजाता हूँ, like and then second one is like bajna, bajna, right? When you are sort of like so how do I differentiate it? Like so when you say bajana, like if you are playing an instrument, like you say मैं गिटार बजाता हूँ, right? और मैं पियानो बजाता हूँ या मैं तबला बजाता हूँ, right? That's you are actively doing that, right? Let's say, but the alarm clock is like ringing on its own,
Yeah.
right? Then you'll say bajna, right? So you'll say alarm clock bajti hai, right? Bajti, bajti hai. You'll not say alarm clock bajati hai because alarm clock is not actively doing something, right? So that's bajti hai. So in this case, let's say the bell is ringing, school bell, right? So the first line in your poem is bajti ganti, and once I write all of them, it will make more sense. Basically, bajti ganti is like it's giving you an indication that it's time to gather, for the class, right? Um, Second one I have is like the school is starting, or right, starting is like or to yeah
शुरू करना.
शुरू करना, or in this case you know either you can say शुरू होती school, शुरू करना, right? Or what I wrote was chalti school, like chalna is also start, right? Chalna is to walk. Chalna also is like I for example I start a scooter or I start a bike, right? You say I मैं scooter चलाता हूँ, or so in this case you are saying chalti school, or शुरू होती, that or so bajti ganti, like the ring sort of like bell rings, school starts, right? And then you want to say teacher is teaching, right? So to teach is
पढ़ाना.
पढ़ाना, means पढ़ाते, teacher. And the fourth one, that is concluding line, is like and we learn. It would be to learn is, or to read is
Pardon?
पढ़ना, पढ़ते हम. So four simple lines. It may be a bit difficult, but and again, don't stick with just these words and these subjects. You can change it accordingly, according to the topic you are writing. But I just thought, uh, uh, basic things that I'll think of when I'm think of a school, right? So bajti ganti, chalti school, padhate teacher, padhte hum,
Mm-hmm.
right? Four rhythmic lines that will conclude. So the fourth one, I think the next one, how much time do we have?
It's 10:53.
Okay, so next one, I think we'll just make it on the fly. So we'll just take one topic or one topic, and I'll ask everyone to give me one word,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'll just make it on the fly to give you a full understanding. So we'll just go by yawn. Yawn. You want to pick any word? Take any word, and then give it to me, and then we'll make a poem.
Run. Says Jan. Jan says run.
Run. Okay. Jordan. To run. Okay. What about you, Jennifer?
Karita.
Khareedna. Okay. To buy. Christine, you want to pick any word? Take any word in English right now, and we'll figure out how to.
So we have Kana.
Khana, to eat. Looks like someone is in shopping mall. To buy, to eat,
Yeah.
to run. Like the shopping mall scenario. Any more words?
Christine says to think.
Have to think. To think. Okay. So it looks like a what kind of scenario, like using these words, what kind of poems you can, like a scenario you can think of? One is like a shopping mall. Another one is like it's a festivity season, like a Diwali or Christmas or something is going on, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
some people are eating, some people are buying, some are running, and some are thinking, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Right. Right. So that's like let's take which one do you pick? Shopping mall or the festival?
Festival.
Festival. Okay, let's go with the festival scenario. Right. Now let's pick up like a subject for each of these things. Right.
Okay.
So in festival, who usually buys?
Mothers.
Mothers. Okay. What about eat? Kids?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Kids. Okay. Run.
Monkeys.
Monkeys. Monkeys or shop owners?
Okay, shopper.
Shop owners. I don't mind monkeys. I'm just like you're making it difficult for the poem. That's why.
Shopper.
Shop owners.
Uh-huh.
What about to think? Your concluding. Think would be your concluding line by definition.
We had Dost as a suggestion. Friends.
Okay, friends. Good. Which one would you like to write at the first line? Like if you were to sequence them now, you have four lines, right? In this poem,
Mm-hmm.
you want to sequence them
Mm-hmm.
in such a way that it fits well.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'll say Mother's Buy.
Mother's by. Okay.
Is there a right answer?
There's no right answer. It's on the fly.
Mother's
right?
Buy.
It's not like I've thought about it.
Shopkeepers Run.
Okay.
Kids eat, friends think.
There's no right or wrong. I mean, we are just like,
Maybe this reveals something about my psyche or
Yeah.
something.
Okay, so let's write it down. Mother's Buy. How will you write it?
So I would say Kriti, Krid, Kriti,
खरीदती मम्मी
Mhm.
or Mata. In this case, let's say खरीदती मम्मी.
Mhm.
Um, let's say you want to write an object also. So let's say मिठाई खरीदती मम्मी. Mithai is a sweet,
Mhm.
right? I'm just trying to make it a little bit more
Yeah.
like, mithai khariti mummy is like, my mom purchasing some sweets, right? Next one is, let's say change the order.
Okay.
You want to write kids, they're eating. How will you write that? To eat.
Got it.
Hmm?
So you want to use Mikai or
मिठाई खरीदती मम्मी,
samosa?
खाते बच्चे, समोसा खाते बच्चे. Very good. And then we'll make correction as we go along. The third one is to run shop owner.
So
Shop owners is vyapari.
okay.
Vyapari is also a businessman. So it's half verb year with R, verb with R, and then the vyapari. Vyapari. Vyapar is business. The monopoly game that they have in India used to call it business,
Yeah.
and the Hindi version of is vyapar.
Oh, okay.
So it's vyapari. And it's not like you have to stick with this. You can change it accordingly.
So
Selling, you want to say to sell?
sure.
Okay. To sell.
So let's say kapra bechta vyapari.
Oh, yes,
Vyapari.
okay, okay, very good. So vyapari is to sell is bechna.
Huh?
Bechna. So now it would be kapde. कपड़े बेचते व्यापारी. And the last one is to think. And you can, so now we have three lines which are very relevant. मिठाई खरीदती मम्मी, समोसा खाते बच्चे, कपड़े बेचते व्यापारी. And fourth one.
What do you think, Ashu?
I'm indifferent. You can change either the verb or either you can change the subject. But it looks very thematic, right? You're
Yes.
describing a scenario of a festival, or you are in a fair where all these things are happening, like,
Um,
it's okay. Yeah.
there we go. To love friends.
I missed the part, like you're changing the verb or the subject.
To love.
To love. Okay. Okay. To love. And okay, we'll make it a
Okay.
love poem. It'll be प्यार करते. Laugh. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
I
laugh.
see.
Yeah.
Laugh. I see. Sorry.
Ashu became quite romantic.
Yeah.
He's-
Right. Okay. I think it's good. So हंसते. Dost. Good. So it's good, right? We on the fly we came up with the poem, right? I mean, so now we have मिठाई खरीदती मम्मी, समोसा खाते बच्चे, कपड़े बेचते व्यापारी और हंसते हंसते रहते दोस्त और हंसते दोस्त. I mean, I think we should have one more word here to make it a little bit more rhythmic. So it would be हंसते. You have to have one more word. हंसते गाते दोस्त, right? हंसते गाते दोस्त. Very good. I think this is good. Like, just so here you see, right? I mean, we thought about the scenario. I mean, in this case, we thought about verbs first, okay? Then we thought about all the subjects, and based on that, we decided that it's relevant to a festival scene, and then we came up with a quick short poem, right? Again, these are not any academic framework. These are very simple frameworks which I think can be useful to sort of like a frame a poem or to come up with a short poem. With that in mind, I think I just wanted to have like I just want to take a quick detour of like from the grammar portion to like writing small poems. So I think we've studied three frameworks right so far. In the last class, we thought about conditional sentences such as like if I were a bird, if I would fly. In this class, we studied two more framework, which is like you write your verbs first and then you write your subject, right? So I hope this is useful. Next class, we'll pick up a new topic. And as always, your ideas or suggestions are always welcome. Please throw your suggestion on Facebook or on the YouTube comments, and we'll take that into consideration. So with that, we'll stop broadcasting, and then we'll open it up for any